So my wife and I went to Sedona this weekend, which is a nice area in Arizona. I'm assuming, do you know anything about Sedona at all?
Not a bit.
Okay, that's what I figured. So it's really nice. You should, anytime you're out here, you should come. So it's a pretty good view. And so we enjoyed a nice weekend up there for our anniversary. So I am an old man now. We've been married for 3 years. As you would know, you're like a month ahead of us, right? Yeah. So we celebrated our 3rd anniversary. So I wish I could say that we've totally figured out marriage, at this point. Like, it's been 3 years, you should have it down. But basically, I'm at the point in marriage where every day, month, year, I just figure out how much I don't know. So it's a fun spot to be in, where you just learn about what you're not good at, and we try to get better, but still working on it.
Yeah.
Like, how much communication and how easy it is to under communicate things, and how much you need to over communicate them. Mm-hmm. That's some hashtag like strong marriage advice for you right there.
Over communicate.
On over communicate. But anyway, so it was a good time. We enjoyed that. And then we're back in kind of the swing of things. So enjoying it. You do anything exciting this week?
No, not really. I watched a football game that I didn't enjoy.
Oh yeah. I wasn't going to bring it up now that you brought it up.
I did. I know. Yeah. I shouldn't have, but for anybody who knows, I'm a huge Georgia Tech fan, and anytime the Dogs win, it makes us sad. So it's just part of the rivalry. We had an anniversary trip to Greenville, South Carolina.
Nice.
A couple of weeks ago. Okay. It wasn't on our anniversary. It was like the week after Christmas, and that was fun. So yeah, we've been married 3 years too, and it's like, we don't know anything. We don't know how. Like, I couldn't give advice. I just know enough that when I see married couple or people get married, I just laugh at them because I'm like, suckers.
Right?
My sister's getting married in a few weeks, and so I'm just like watching them like panic and freak out, and I'm like, it gets worse.
Yeah,
so,
it's great.
It's awesome. Have fun. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good spot.
No advice. I just know enough that, yeah, that's about it.
It's like we know enough to know that we don't know anything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, it's great.
First year, I was like, I got this. This is the easiest thing in the world. Second year, no, not so much. Third year, we're like, okay, we know nothing.
Let's start, from scratch. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's good. I figured for this podcast, last one, we kind of went through a lot of material. I know we went a little bit long. For this one, I thought we can keep it kind of loose, just kind of us talking through a lot of different things rather than going through any material. But I thought it'd be cool for us to talk a little more about career. I know we talk about money a lot, but I think career and like career development and kind of where you want to go and why you kind of chose this path is important as well, for this, and something we can talk about more in the future. We've thought about, maybe doing some more interviews with people from maybe different career paths just to see, why you choose that path. What would you recommend for somebody that also is looking at that? I think that would be helpful as well. So for you, Cody, for those that maybe don't know you, if someone asks, what do you do for a living? What's your go-to answer for that?
Right now, there's a broad, what I would say that I enjoy doing, and I do, if you looked at all the things that I've done over the last 5 years. But right now, what I do is I manage a fence installation company that was once my father's, and it's still his, but I'm managing it now. And so it's in that stage of going from just one person, my dad, and maybe a subcontractor, to something that's like a well-oiled machine of, a couple of employees, multiple subcontractors, marketing campaigns, things like that. And so really my day-to-day is sales and calls and customer service and putting out fires and running payroll. And then the broad sense is expansion, finding out ways to, market, get different relationships with different kinds of customers, both homeowners and commercial, and then just kind of growing and then seeing what those next steps are, seeing what the 5-year goal is. So that's what my day to day is. And of course the Will and Cody Show, it's super important.
That takes a big part.
That
Obviously,
takes
the
all my
one night a
time,
week that we do this.
the 1.5 hours we put to it.
Yeah.
And the other half hour is like the preparation where we
the actual recording time versus
talk.
Exactly. Like the trying to record and us talking versus coming up with ideas is so disproportionate, but that's okay. That's a pretty good answer to what you do. So it's really the kind of growth expansion of an already existing business. How do you scale it to the next phase, right? It's like, how do you take something that's maybe kind of more like a mom and pop thing and make it a little bit bigger, controlled, and how to kind of scale it. I think it's an interesting thing and definitely tough to do. Cause you gotta measure a lot of different things. So I know it's a complicated job, cause you gotta measure out your growth versus, how much sales are you doing? How much can you handle? How do you balance all those things to actually go and scale? So it's a lot of work. Yeah.
A lot of people skills I've had to learn over the years and, customer service.
Upset people.
Yeah. And understanding, like, I know fencing because I did it probably for 10 years off and on during college. So I was blessed to kind of already understand the premise of it, but understanding expansion, that came from previous experiences of helping a startup in film, which was going pretty well until COVID. And that's when I got into fencing. And then before then, helping an HVAC company, being an office manager. And then, of course, some internships where I did some business development and other things. But
so you like the smaller, kind of some smaller business realm.
Yeah, I understand it better, I guess. Big corporate things, I just haven't been exposed to it as much. I mean, other than the internships you and I have had, of like government, and then the people we've met and talked to. I understand like a broad sense, but as far as like the nitty gritty, getting down with it, I understand the local company, usually something service side, something like not a product, but something like I can provide this service to you.
Right.
I don't know anything about retail. I sold sod for 2 months during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And that was the most I did in retail, and I hated it.
That's it. So, not a ton of retail experience either.
But it wasn't great. So
gotcha. Well, I'll come back.
Tell me what you do, because I don't understand what you do. It's like if you've ever seen Friends. Like nobody knows what Chandler does. Like that's how you and I are. I still don't know what you do. So
how does he make a living? Nobody knows. Yeah. Like he acts, but not a lot. Yeah. I struggle with this answer, honestly. When someone asks what I do, you might ask me like 5 times and I give you a different answer every time, because only like a certain niche group understands what I'm talking about. So like, not that like most people like just don't know. It's just kind of like a random business thing. But my answer right now is I do financial analysis. That's a broad term. Most people are like, numbers, accounting, finance, got it. But I work for Aetna Healthcare. So it's a healthcare company. We do corporate healthcare, and we are owned by CVS Health. So your local CVS also owns this insurance company. And I feel like I have to tag this on, but I obviously don't speak for CVS here. So this is just me talking as an employee. But I enjoy working for it. It's a big company. And in essence, what I do is for those like one person that's going to understand this, I basically do account reconciliations in monitoring our balance sheet accounts. And then also I am the system administrator for an accounting software that we use to perform all those. So that's kind of like I have 2 separate jobs at the same time. So one, I do analysis, and then the other one, I'm kind of an administrator for software, making sure it's up and running, performing monthly functions, things like that. And a lot of like automation optimization stuff. So I basically take stuff that isn't working well and I fix it and make it better, in essence, and using software and automation to do that. So Yeah,
I understood the
that's pretty
software
much-
part.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
20%.
Yeah. So it's a lot of different things, but I enjoy it. Definitely a different realm. I'd say it's a good contrast from your current work experience. Like I think you're definitely kind of like an on the ground, like a day to day kind of guy, whereas I'm more very corporate level analysis of things, and so it's a good perspective to have. I think it's definitely taught me a lot about how companies work, how bigger companies work, and all the different parts of that. And so it's been a good experience for me just seeing how big companies work. So I kind of have that perspective, going forward. But yeah, it's been pretty good. I enjoy it.
Nice. I'd like to one day get into a corporate job of some kind beyond an internship where I can kind of see like the inner workings. Cause what I do is like, payroll only takes a couple hours and paying the contractors a couple hours and marketing a couple hours. So it's like I do everything. But then if you look at a big company, like it's somebody's full-time job for marketing. It's somebody's full-time job.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's somebody's
whole departments. Yeah.
job to manage the people that handle like payroll. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that's like I've never just been exposed to. It's always just been like, I'll quickly do this right quick. And then, so I'm learning how to turn something from like really small to like a well-oiled machine. So I'd like to one day get into that kind of space where I understand what the end goal is. I have experience in the end goal. And then now I can make that bridge between small to large and then help other people with that transition.
Right. And one thing I would say that's like in a corporate setting, you can get really focused because as you said, like you're not having to do a bunch of different things. So you can just focus in on one area and say, okay, I'm going to do this thing. But I would say the perk of doing a smaller environment is you do get exposure to a lot of different areas. So I think one thing that's really pushed, and I think I would recommend this as well, is if you're in a more of a corporate environment, a lot of what's recommended is to move around regularly. Like my company encourages us after we even have a rotation program that you can sign up for people right out of college, where I think it's every like 2 years or so, they'll move you to a different area of the company to get experience. And it's like you sign up for 6 years and they move you to 3 different spots in your rotation. And so it's just encouraging you, if you want to get a more broadened experience, you kind of have to move around a little bit. And obviously you don't want to jump around a ton, but at least every 2 to 3 years, have that move to a different area just so you can get a different piece of the puzzle to maybe understand. And then you understand that one deeply and you can go somewhere else. So then if you eventually want to get either to a manager role or a leadership or maybe a small business, then you have the deep experience in a lot of different areas that you can kind of incorporate. But I think definitely one perk of a small business route is like you get everything right away. Like you are the guy, you know what I mean? Like for everything. So you can kind of get that experience pretty quickly in a lot of different areas. It just may not be as in depth as, somebody in a big company, might get.
Yeah. And it's not efficient. It's very inefficient. I mean, the whole point of corporate is efficiency.
Yeah.
And, that's why everybody's so laser focused on, it's crazy that you have technically 2 jobs. Cause if my understanding, like corporate, like if you've got an extra job, like that's crazy, cause everybody's like laser focused on like one thing, make everything like just moving well, like a well-oiled machine. And, for me, it's like, it's very inefficient, but I don't have to pay a lot. I just pay me, right? I pay my salary to do all these other things. So there's that contrast of you have to generate so much to have so many people to be laser focused on these specific things to be efficient, but that's what it takes to make that much money.
That's true. Yeah.
Whereas like your local guy, your HVAC guy, your plumber, for them, it's like they handle accounting or account reconciliation or whatever you just said, themselves by just opening up the bank account. It's like, yep, money's there. And then it keeps going, and, so but that's like super inefficient. Right. So it's an interesting world because like, and we're going to get into career in just a second, but like, I guess it depends kind of on what kind of person you are. If you are someone that likes doing a lot of different things, like every day is something different, then you might want to focus more on a more local business or a local
A startup
own
or something
that you're gonna. You maybe get asked to like go over here for a second. You know, you may get asked to like, hey, can you go like even at the sod place that I worked for, it wasn't really that big. It maybe had a couple hundred employees. It was a Southeast owned thing, and I was in sod sales. But I mean, when the yard guy's not just sick, or when he's sick, you know, you got to go out there and load up the sod. You know, and then I remember one time a delivery guy, he just forgot like a bag of fertilizer. And I had to hop in my car and just go deliver some fertilizer to somebody like an hour away. So if that's something you enjoy, I would definitely look at that. But if you're a laser focused kind of person, or you want something that like every day is the same, and you like consistency and stuff like that, that corporate's where it's at, because that's what they want. They want those kinds of people that can be focused, that know what they're looking at. That usually, unfortunately, you usually have to have that kind of experience though,
or specialized,
or be very specialized, or have to go through a training program to do that. Whereas if you're just like a go-getter and you're willing to learn, usually people will take that chance. Those local people will take that chance on you and say, you know what? Yeah, let's give this a shot. And usually, you know, you can figure it out if you're just a well-motivated person.
Right.
So it just that's my experience, but I don't have that much corporate experience except from what I've learned.
Yeah, there's definitely trade-offs to it. You know, with opportunity and, you know, what kind of experience you're going to get. And that's a good point. Like what type of person you are, you know, and the perks of it are different too. Like, you know, with a smaller company, you're going to have more equity in it. Possibly, you know, it's going to be more of your project, and you're going to be able to decide your outcome, and it's going to be based off your performance. And you're going to receive the benefit of that, versus a corporate's going to be a little more steady. And so, and there may be more like, you know, you're going to get healthcare or a 401k, you know, those type of benefits rather than like an equity push possibly. So it really just depends. And I think I personally want to have a little bit of both in my experience, you know, as I plan out kind of what I want to do. And it's something I would love to get into the kind of startup space one day. You know, I kind of been heavy in corporate, and I think I'll be there for a little bit. Just where I'm at, that's kind of a good fit. But I would like to get in a, you know, startup space maybe one day, or starting something of my own. I just know with that, you have to be already kind of stable on your own, because there could be months where pay is going to be inconsistent, right? Like you may not have that regular paycheck. So being able to weather through those times, I personally just was like, I just need to wait on that a little bit, kind of build a foundation first. And then once I have that in place, then I feel like I can make that move. And so that's something I'm looking at down the road. But right now I'm just trying to build as much experience as I can in a lot of different corporate settings, you know, so that one day I can kind of be prepared to be the guy that does everything, you know, have all the, the jobs. So.
Right. Yeah. And, yeah, startups something that I've been in startups, and I've helped them. I've never started something myself from like 0 to 1. I've done like the 1 to 100, you know, the taking something that's small and turning it into something big.
Yeah.
I don't want to say big, but you know, from like 1 employee to maybe like 10 or something, you know?
Right.
Yeah, the startup space is interesting. The person to talk to is the guy named Larry, not Larry. Actually, his name is Larry. He's going to hate me for saying that. Kevin Youngblood, who's William's dad. And we've actually got 2 interviews with him that I think we just talk about personal finance. I don't think we talked about.
We talked a little bit about if you had an idea and wanted to start something, what do you need to do to kind of get ready for that?
Yeah, I think you're right.
And so it was like talked about that. I think the second one.
Side hustles, right?
Yeah. And how do you take a side hustle and make it into a business? You know, a full-time thing.
Yeah, we need to have him back on to talk about startups, because he has definitely done that. And when we say startup, I mean, we're talking like from nothing to a large corporation, like something that's, I would say large, but like, you know, pretty
a small, medium size. Yeah.
Yeah. Like company. What is considered large now? 200 employees or something?
Oh, I don't know. But yeah, it would be around there. Yeah.
Yeah. the vaccine mandate would affect him. Is what we're saying.
That's the threshold.
That's the threshold.
That's the threshold. The vaccine mandate. What number of employees? So yeah, around there. So that's one thing too. It's like there is that pressure of my dad's very entrepreneurial. He's just how he is. But I'm wired differently. You know what I mean? And so for me, I'm perfectly fine right now working a good corporate job, enjoying what I do. Like I'm fine being in that space. So it's also recognizing what's good for you. But I think one day maybe I'll make it over there, into that space. It's just kind of like I wasn't ready for it right away out of college. I just kind of needed a job where I could just go work my 40 hours, work hard, learn a lot, and just kind of settle into things before I really jump into much else. So it's trying to figure out what works for you, personally.
We're kind of safe guys when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, one day I might be able to take a risk, but I just felt like, especially being a newlywed guy right out of college, like, I just needed something stable for a few years, right? Yeah. That I could just, work, get a steady paycheck, and then maybe later I'll see from that. Like, I feel like a good threshold, I don't know if this is just me, but it's like once you get around like 30, like that's a good spot of like, I feel like you might have enough of a foundation that you can start looking at, what other opportunities are out there if you want to take a risk. But I don't know. Just
right. Yeah, I think that's smart. I like that. We're kind of like I don't want to say wannabe entrepreneurs. Like we're going to be entrepreneurs. Right now we're learning.
We hope to be.
We hope to be. We're learning. We're like, we've got these unique situations we've been put in. We just want to like do the best we can.
Right.
But I mean, I guess I'm speaking for you here, but I personally want to like, I know eventually I want to own something. I want to build something. But like you said, that having that foundation is nice of one, I'm getting an education. I mean, I'm getting a free MBA basically by running a business.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. But for you, you're getting almost an MBA by being in a corporate setting and then having the opportunity to go learn from other parts of this company and understanding everything. And I mean, and then being in the finance world, I mean, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like you're just entering data, like you're a financial analyst. And so all this experience, like it's gonna be handy down the road, right? When we turn 30. I'm 25. You're what? 24?
Yeah.
24. So we're young, right? So put in another 5 years, work really hard, save a lot of money, keep investing in our IRAs like we've been talking about. And then about 30, hope, fall goes
somewhere
well.
In there. Yeah.
We might
I feel like that's a good spot.
I think you're right. I like that 30. I like that because I feel like by then I could potentially say, you know what? I'm going to go part-time on this. Or you know what? I think I'll sell my shares and take 3 months, 6 months, however long I've got, save a little bit and say, you know what? Let's eat some rice and beans, let's save the money here, and let's see just something that we can come up with.
Now, yeah, I mean, I know people that would disagree with me, and that's totally fine. Like, I know plenty of people that would say your 20s is a perfect time just to go and take risks and figure things out because you've got so much time ahead of you, right? I guess my situation, and I think yours is similar, it's when you get married, it changes things, in my opinion. Like, there's someone else depending on you a little bit. And, my wife still works, but I want to make sure that we're not homeless, because it affects somebody else, not just me. If it's just me, I don't mind. I'll figure out, what to do. But the fact that, it affects someone else kind of changes my outlook on things as well. So I guess I'll throw that in there that, it may depend on your personal situation. But for me, I realize that the decisions I make and the risks I take affect others, not just me. And so that kind of affects how I see it.
Yeah. No, that's 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
But in the reverse of that,
go ahead.
Like if you've got that foundation and let's say you are married and then you guys work together to build a foundation, now you've got a helpmeet that could help you in those entrepreneurial endeavors.
Totally.
Whereas, you were all alone in your 20s. I met a kid a couple of weeks ago and I hope to have him on the podcast sometime. I'm not going to say his name. I haven't asked him if it's okay yet, but he's an entrepreneur and he started a business when he was like 17 or 16,
nice.
Like mowing lawns. And then it turned into like 60 clients, several employees. And then he paid for himself to go to college. And then in college, he started like a drone business. And then he's got like a sim business. It's crazy. And he's like 22. And I had to meet him. Or he's like, I think he's 21 now. I had to meet him. And it was just crazy. Like the energy he had. I'm like, dude, when I was your age, I was tired.
Right.
Like,
I'm exhausted.
I played way too much Call of Duty and ate too much popcorn and went to sleep. Like, like the amount of energy that kid had was crazy. And I learned in that moment, like there are just some people that, you know, you give them like just a little bit of opportunity and they're going to run with it. They're going to take every chance they got. That's crazy. But I've learned that there's very different people in this world. There's also the people, one of my really good friends of mine, a really safe person. Like you think I'm safe. Like this guy is as safe as it gets. Like he calculates everything to a T, but he's going to make it. I have no doubt this guy's going to make it. He may not own like a big corporate business, but he did. He did eventually own a business himself and then sold it and then ended up working for the company that bought his business a little bit later in life. And so, but he's like just super safe. He didn't take any risks. He did everything, you know, go to college, no debt, buy a house, get a decent car that's reliable, don't spend too much money, and then get married. And then he's like, I think he's like 30 now. But it's just crazy, right? And then there's just different people that have different mentalities of like, I want to go the safe route. I want to be entrepreneurial and super, you know, risky. But at the end of the day, I think any kind of those people can reach a similar goal of success of some kind.
And it's like, it's like there's people that are just entrepreneurial by nature. Like that guy you were talking about, that's just, he's going to find opportunity wherever he goes and he just makes stuff. He makes stuff happen versus people like you and I realize the benefit. And it's really interesting. Like for those that are like, I don't think entrepreneurship's for everybody or a small business. I don't think everybody should do it. There are just unique benefits of doing it. Mostly, I would say for flexibility and financial could be big things. You are taking on risk, but there's a lot of reward, you know, if things pay off. Like I was just reading, you know, Millionaire Next Door. It talks a lot about how a lot of people that have higher net worths are people that own their own business. And usually it's businesses that are still mom and pop. Like they're not huge. It's just somebody that owns their own business, like a plumbing, electrical business. And they took a risk on themselves and the work that they do. And they were able to reap the benefits of it. So it's definitely like something that you can, you know, everyone might not want to do, but I think there's definitely some extra benefit to that. So that's why Cody and I look at it. Other things, like I was just thinking that I want to do career-wise. Like I've always talked about like going get more education, like maybe an MBA. I've thought about there's a lot of tests out there for, you know, either going to get like a CPA or a CFA, things like that. You know, are definitely options out there to get a little bit more experience, but that just helps me get a little bit further, I guess, in the corporate realm rather than just the experience I need for a startup. So it really just depends on where you want to go. But I think doing those things along the way can really help you get ahead and make that big jump as you continue to do it. Because a lot of the things that Cody and I talk about, a great factor for it is increasing your income. Like that's just a help. You know what I mean? Like if you want to save more money, making more money doesn't hurt. And I think as my dad said when he was on, he was like realizing that you look at your income number and that there's a lot of numbers above that number, you know, that you could just make more. And so not that you just pursue making a bunch of money, but it definitely helps reach your goals as far as, you know, maybe switching jobs, getting some further education can help you make more money to eventually get where you want to go. So if you want to start your own business, if you want to have a foundation first, save up the money and then just see if maybe you can start doing it part-time, things like that, and then just go. I think I kind of rambled there. I don't remember where we jumped off from, but a lot of different thoughts with that. So it may not be for everybody, but I think it's definitely a route that a lot of people pursuing financial independence and financial freedom end up going towards, or most people that have it kind of ended up doing.
Yeah. When we think of successful people, it's usually people that own businesses or own real estate or have crazy investments. But if you do read Millionaire Next Door, or actually no, it's Everyday Millionaire. The majority of millionaires earn their net worth through paying off their house and their 401k. By retirement, they became millionaires, and that's how they retired. It was usually their 401k. And so, you don't have to create a business to be successful or to live, have a good retirement. But it is something that's available. And I think it's something that a lot of people do later in life. I know a lot of people that started just a regular career to earn some money, kind of like what we're doing, and to learn a trade. And then eventually we're like, you know what? I could just do this myself.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how my dad started. He knew fencing. He grew up with it. And he's just like, I could just do this myself. And he did it himself. And he did it for 30 years by himself. And my father-in-law, he managed a HVAC company, started from a tech to HVAC manager or whatever that works, office manager, for like 10 years. And he's just like, I could just do this myself.
Right. You just do it.
And I think that's kind of the trend is like, when you build a foundation, people start thinking that kind of like the side hustles, we think of side hustles as like ways to like earn more income, but other people, it's like, you know what? I could start one and then not have to work or be able to work for myself. And so I think that's kind of where you don't have to be super entrepreneurial. Because my dad's not. My dad's a super safe guy. Like he is like, I don't want to say that he's not entrepreneurial. Like he's got a good business mind and he'll take a risk but he risks, like risk assesses all the time. Like if the risk is like here and the reward is neck and neck, he's not going to do it. He wants to see the reward here and the risk way down here. He doesn't want to do something if it's too risky. But even he started his own business, right? Even he's done.
Because it made sense for him. Yeah.
He's done like investing and done some real estate and stuff like that. So it's to get into that world of career building, either maybe like choosing to do another job or starting your own business, stuff like that. It isn't for everyone, but everyone can do it. And it is like what you said, it is something that you could have in your back of your pockets, like something that you could actually maybe attempt,
Yeah. Because it's definitely in my mind of like something that I could do, but also it wouldn't surprise me if I just work corporate jobs, do what we're talking about, the stuff that we talk about as far as, investing and that be the way that I get there. And then it's at some point I can then just do whatever I want, regardless of what it pays. It may not be starting my own business, but that's definitely something I've had in the back of my mind is like, I don't know, it kind of seems fun from the, I've done a few internships and stuff with startups and it's always a fun environment with starting something from scratch and seeing it grow and, kind of being your project and your thing, seeing it grow, and making it grow. I think it's just kind of fun. But it's not for everybody. I think, and that's one thing that I love about, kind of the habits that we've seen successful people do is it's not tied to, oh, you have to start your own business if you want to be successful. It's really any route you want to go. And so it's really kind of flexible for, you know, what kind of person you are, what you want to do. And so I think that's the part of the beauty of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, if you look, there's a lot of successful people that they didn't start their business. They just worked up the ranks. Like, I don't know if this is true, but I don't think Tim Cook started a business or anything. He just worked his way up Apple, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
I think, and I mean, CEO of Apple, like that's pretty, I'm sure he's doing okay,
Yeah, he's doing all right.
And, and I know some people that's just worked up the ranks. So like, you know what, if I just stay here for 10 years, 15 years, I could become a manager. I could become a boss. And that's cool too. I've actually thought about that. I thought about going into the management side of things of maybe like a management of a store, or I've even thought of like management of Chick-fil-A. maybe.
Dude, hook
That'd
me
be
up with
fun.
some free sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the Lord's chicken. So I thought about going that route, but
That's definitely a lifestyle thing, like jobs like that. But I think for a lot of people, if it's what you love, man, do it,
mhm.
and it works out. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
But as far as career planning goes, I think definitely put thought into it. And look what's out there. I think a lot of people maybe just accept where they're at. But look and see what jobs are out there, what you can kind of get, where you want to be. I think that's the tough question for me is where do you want to go? And that's honestly where I don't know. And I'm kind of at that phase where I don't know what the long game is as far as specific of I want to do this. And that's the one thing that I want to do. With my life and, with as far as career goes. And so that's the question I'm still trying to figure out. And so for me, one thing that I started talking with people right out of college was, do you follow passion or do you follow opportunity? Because a lot of people have things that they're passionate about. And so they'll follow that, or they'd be like, well, I'm not really interested in this other thing, so I'm not going to do that. Whereas I chose just to follow opportunity. I says, where are the jobs? All right, I don't know much about this, but I'm going to do it. And I found certain things that I'm actually passionate about. I like doing. And so I think if you follow opportunity for a little bit, you can discover new passions and new things you like versus just assuming you don't like it. And then you'll find some things you're like, oh, I'm going to love this. And then you get into it and you're like, well, actually, I don't love this as much as I thought, I would. So I'm a big fan of just following opportunity where it kind of leads. And then I think you'll find new things that you love. You'll find yourself like, wow, I actually really like this. And you never would have found it otherwise. So I'm just a big fan of that personally, of in your career, there's a little bit where you can go with your passions. But for a while, I think you just need to figure out what you like, what you don't. And that's okay. You don't need to have, I never was that guy right out of college that was, this is my dream job that I'm going to go out and find. Because I was like, I don't know what that is yet. What does that look like? So I just kind of followed what was open. And, I found certain things I like, certain things I don't.
Yeah. I find that as I meet a lot of people, especially with the current job I'm in, I meet a lot of successful people because they can afford the product that we're providing.
Right.
And I'll talk to them, I'll ask them a little bit about stuff. And I'm finding a trend that most people don't know what they are, but then they know what they were. Let me try to explain that. I currently do not know what I am as far as career. I'm just taking opportunities and going with it. Right. And I know my talents and I know what I can do. And I know what I'm passionate about. And so I'm seeing the opportunities, I'm going with it. By the end of my life, I'll look back and be like, I was a manager, or I was an entrepreneur, or I was this or that. And I'm finding that's the truth with all these people that I'm meeting. They'll say, well, I did a little bit of this, I dabbled with a little bit of that. But after 15 years or 18 years of excavating or landscaping or something, I realized that I like this and I did it, and now I'm retired and I ended up being a real estate agent. It's just like that, such a weird pathway.
Right.
But they just took opportunities and they never let what their current job was define them. They just did their best with where they were, but they kept their eye open for opportunities and new ways to grow and expand and stuff like that. So don't be discouraged if you don't know what you are or what you're going to do.
Yeah, it's cool because that's where I'm at. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Please don't be discouraged, because then I'll get discouraged because I don't know what I am either. So
so I think it's totally fine, and I think maybe that's something that we push on people is like, you have to. What do you want to be? What do you want to do? And it's flexible. I think I have a general framework, right? It's like I want to have the flexibility and financial freedom to do what I want. Without worrying about money. We say that a lot. And so I have that general framework of the kind of person I want to be and things I want to accomplish. But the specifics of it, I'm being flexible with. I think there's room for just kind of following what doors open and see where that leads you. It's not like you have to have this planned out journey. You know, it's kind of like it's a rough path and see where it comes from. And you get a lot of experience along the way. Find what you like, find what you don't, and then pursue, you know, those kind of things. But I think that's definitely a good point, that you learn kind of what you've been more, and that kind of tells you more about what's next than anything else. That's definitely a good point. So that's good stuff.
Think we're right about time. Yeah, really good stuff. We really were super prepared on this one, and we actually got a really good podcast out. So I'm really proud. Like,
totally, a lot of preparation. Really, and that's just talking. So we kind of just came into it, just wanted to chat a little bit. So hopefully, you guys listening enjoyed that. If you have any questions or maybe things we didn't cover about kind of what we're doing with our jobs, we'd love to talk about it more. You know, if you have any questions related to that or want us to talk about anything else with that, we'd love to get into planning as far as, you know, maybe someone right out of college. What do you look at? We could definitely get more in depth to that in future episodes, but this is at least a little bit about us and kind of where we're at with it.
Yeah. So if you guys do have a question, hit us up, www.willandcody.com. Get a contact us page. You can ask us a question there. If you want to say, hey, I still don't understand what William does, you can ask that.
Join the club with everybody else.
Yeah.
I'll try it a different way this time.
This is the 6th time I've heard what he does and I still don't understand. So it's okay.
Yeah.
So
I just give up trying.
Yeah,
so
I'm done.
At this point, it's financial analysis and just leave it at that. So
yeah, we just know he makes money. He's doing okay. So
yeah.
But anyway, guys, we will see you next time.
See you guys.